The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Frank Saberic, and today we're continuing on the political campaigns. Today, where we've already had Jim Rubens, who's a Senate candidate, and we've also had Casey Newell, who's running for U.S. Rep in the second district, and today we're going going to the governor's race, the exciting governor's race, which doesn't have an incumbent, so it's probably wide open. And my guest today is a Republican candidate running for governor, Jon Lavoie. Is your name pronounced Lavoie?
That's correct.
Okay.
Unless you're in Quebec, then it's Lavoie.
Lavoie, okay, so we're not in Quebec yet. But so first of all, tell my audience a little bit about yourself. Who is Jon Lavoie, and why are you running for governor?
Well, I'm 32 years old, 2 children, married, live in Hollis, New Hampshire. Growing up, I was living in Mason, New Hampshire. I was a volunteer fire department member, coached Little League. A number of normal things. Work a regular job. I've never worked for the government in my life.
Wow.
So it's something that I decided I wanted to try to run for governor as basically on a whim. I saw how everything was going in this state. I've always been interested in politics, and why not? Let's give it a shot.
Just out of curiosity, did you pull nomination papers before or after this year's New Hampshire primary?
Did I register to vote in the primary? Yeah, I registered on the Republican side.
You registered on the Republican side.
Correct.
And were you a candidate prior to that?
No.
Okay. So did Donald Trump's campaign sort of inspire you, and specifically how well he did?
I have to correct myself. Yes, I had already started this process at the time of the presidential primary, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had already started this process. Did Trump inspire me? Not really, no.
Oh, okay. Because, I mean, add to the fact that he did so well in the state of New Hampshire, being a quote-unquote outsider with no political experience, so to speak. And then on the Democrat side, Bernie Sanders is a senator, but he's viewed as by a lot of people as an outsider. And he did very well in the Democratic primary. So I'm just saying that, somebody like yourself with no experience, especially in a race with no incumbent, you may have pretty good success.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that the people in New Hampshire, I believe, they did vote in favor of Trump. I'm hoping that the overall flavor of the state is in favor of inviting new people into the scene and voting in some new ideas, new fresh faces, and not somebody who's been a groomed politician or a millionaire all their lives.
Ah. Now, your opponents in the Republican primary on September 13th, are they all established politicians?
The 2 that I know of that are the front runners, yes. They're both on the executive board, I believe, of the state. And there's one other who is a business owner in Wilton, I believe.
Oh, okay. So your chances is good. Do you know where you're going to be placed on the primary ballot yet?
Not at this time, no. You can't even register until June. So the paperwork I'll have to register with the state in June to be on the ballot.
Okay. Because I know there's a thing where there's like if there's like 3 or more candidates, sometimes it's your advantage to be like first or last. Because people who are especially people who are confused, unfortunately, it's easy for them to find the first or last name in the bunch.
Sure. Maybe it should just be in alphabetical order, huh?
Yeah. Although in your case, would you be in the middle of the pack
Be
if
in
they
the middle.
did?
Yeah, be in the middle. Yeah.
Oh well. But anyway, let's see. So speaking about incumbents, how do you compare yourself with Maggie Hansen, the one who's running for, the current governor who's running for U.S. Senate?
Well, I don't really. I've seen some things that she's done. She's against the Second Amendment rights, really kind of fast-tracking gun rights. She's against. Put some notes down, but she's not a big fan of legalizing marijuana, or she's also in favor of pushing through Obamacare and furthering that. I'm not in favor of any of those 3 things that I just mentioned. I am pro Second Amendment. People have asked me if I'm in favor of open or concealed carry permits, and if we want to get onto that right now for a minute. Is that okay?
Sure, no problem.
One of the biggest questions is why can a person who's bought a gun, why do they have to then go through another step to get a concealed carry permit? But they can legally put their gun in their hip pocket where everyone can see it and walk down the street like that. But to conceal it, you need another license. And to get that license, it's not about going to a gun shop, getting another background check or anything like that. You just have to go to the chief of police, ask them if you can have one. They say yeah or no, and they give it to you. They let you. That's your license. That's how you get a concealed carry license. So why it needs to be made into a big political issue is beyond me, and why they don't allow it. She's vetoed it. Not really sure. The House and the legislature in New Hampshire has passed that concealed carry law, but it was vetoed at her desk.
If she, hypothetically speaking, if she was running for re-election this year, do you think you'd be running right now?
Yes, I probably would.
Oh, okay.
It'd definitely be harder to have a shot because WMUR has been focused on her for every step of her way. But and I don't want to just say all bad things about Ms. Hassan. Or Governor Hassan. She's done a couple things that I do agree with. She does stand on the side of being open to gay marriage, which is something that I agree with. And another thing is she's open to abortion, which I'm also agree with because I believe it's more of a woman's issue than it is a law or government issue.
Okay. One thing I mentioned to you before that I really love about your campaign on your website, jonlavoie.org, is your slogan, your campaign slogan. A vote for me is a vote for you. Did you think of that yourself, or did you kind of borrow it from another candidate that you were familiar with before?
I did think of it myself. I didn't go searching for it, but I've been told that it has been used before. I don't know by who, or I didn't look into it anymore.
You never did any Google searches to find out if...
No, I did not. When I was picking a campaign slogan, I thought of, well, what applies to me and the average person voter, which is what I am. So it didn't make much more sense to use anything but that. A vote for me is literally a vote for you because I am you. I'm a politically minded, I'd say well-rounded individual. I hope I'm intelligent. I say I'm an intelligent person. Most people I meet say that, but I'm just an average guy. I'm a regular guy. I ride my motorcycle. I ride a snowmobile. I enjoy New Hampshire. I've lived in New Hampshire all my life. I don't think it gets much more live free or die than that.
Okay. And that's pretty good too, because a lot of people kind of migrate here from Massachusetts and tend to run for office or some other state.
Maggie Hassan.
Oh, I didn't know she was from Massachusetts.
She is, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then again, I mean, if they establish themselves for like 10 years or so, or how many years, I mean, they can be acclimated to the state just like anything else.
Sure.
And
Anybody
so,
can, yeah.
but a lot of people, like a lot of the townies and stuff like that, would, like people who are born and bred in the state, and so that's a good sign right there. So, let's see. So, getting into the issues now. What is your view on the hand-free cell phone law in New Hampshire?
Well, I think it's a double coverage item on the law books right now. There was already distracted driving laws, things of that nature. So to add texting while driving was also already illegal. So you can't text while driving. You can't distracted driving. These are already against the law.
Okay.
My opinion is holding a phone like this, or like this, however you choose to hold your phone, for those who don't have the Bluetooth capability, which is becoming abundant. But a lot of people don't have that. They don't have that option. To take a phone call while you're driving is no different than if I was driving and you were in the passenger seat right now and you asked me a question and I took a look at you. I was talking and having an active conversation with you. To me, it doesn't make any difference that if I'm talking to my kid in the back seat, my wife in the passenger seat, or if I'm talking on the phone. It doesn't make much difference to me. And I've been a licensed driver for an oil company before, and this was before the Bluetooth thing was really taking off. I was on my phone constantly, taking phone calls from the office, telling me where to go next, talking to anybody I'd like to talk to, and it doesn't affect driving, if you ask me, in any way. So to take off that one portion of the law, I'm not saying get rid of distracted driving or no texting while driving. I completely agree that texting while driving is dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. But having a conversation while driving, not dangerous, in my opinion.
Okay. So you would kind of, if elected, you might push to like modify that law a little bit.
Probably push to get rid of the cell phone and talking. If that's the only portion of the law that needs to be modified, then yes, I don't believe that having a cell phone to the side of your face is a problem.
Oh, okay. But then again, if you're calling out to somebody, that might be a problem.
It's just as hard to make a phone call on the Bluetooth system. Do you have that in your vehicle?
Yes, I do.
Do you know how to use it?
Not really.
If you actually try to make a call by pushing the button, you're arguing with your car, trying to make it pronunciate the name that you're trying to have the phone call. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you still end up having to click. I hope I don't get pulled over while I'm making this call, so I can put my phone away. It's a little pointless. The technology is not to the point yet where we can make a law like that and still allow people to live and go on with their daily lives with technology that is available.
I hear you. Well, one of the main things I love about New Hampshire is there's no state tax, especially being right on the border with Massachusetts.
No state income tax.
No state income tax. Yeah. And having, like, some of us who work there, like I did most of my life, and then having to pay to Massachusetts tax, but I don't have to do that anymore, thank God. But anyway, would you vow right here and now that if elected, you will maintain the no state income tax, or do you foresee that changing in the not too distant future?
I think the biggest point that you're trying to make there is that the people in New Hampshire do not want a sales tax. Hands down, period. That's what Massachusetts is. That's what eats them up and gets people coming over the border all the time to visit our liquor stores and whatnot. I agree with that wholeheartedly. The system that is in place right now is a property tax. I don't agree with that wholeheartedly. I think it has flaws. I think if you sit down and you think about it, you have a person who has a home. Let's say they bought a home for $150,000. It was in need of dire repair. The town says, yes, you're right, the house is worth about $150,000. You're paying taxes on a $150,000 home. Now, like myself, this is what I did. I bought a home like that, needed repair. Now I go through, I repair everything. It's in great shape. Now they tell me it's valued at $250,000. Just coming up with a scenario. Now you're paying property taxes on $250,000. But maybe I could only afford $150,000 property tax. Understand where I'm going with this?
You shouldn't have fixed up your house in the first place?
Almost. Now I've almost built myself out of my own house because I can't afford the taxes going forward. I did all that work myself, brought the value of my property up, and now I have to pay more taxes on a property that I was paying, that I could afford to buy when I bought the house. That's just one example. Maybe a person had inherited their mom and dad's house, and they decided they're going to try to take over that property, but they can't afford the taxes because it's a property tax value. In my opinion, an income tax is probably the fairest way to tax a state, or that's why we have a government income tax too, federal. But we'd have to do a lot of work to get there. 2-4 years, probably not even possible. But the idea that a property tax is the fairest tax in the land is not the truth, if you ask me, because it's hypothetical value. I don't know how much you make. I'm not going to ask you, but if you make a certain amount of money and you're taxed a percentage of that money, everyone's taxed the same. Get rid of all these brackets and everything. Yeah. Basically a flat tax, so that you have, say 8%. 8% to someone who makes $50,000 a year hurts them just as much as it hurts the person who makes $200,000 a year. It's the same percent. You're taking the same overall chunk of money. I don't like property taxes, but I don't think that I'd be able to change it in 2 years or 4 years if I was to be reelected.
Okay.
But it's definitely something I think that New Hampshire, the next governor or the next set of governors, should definitely take a look at.
Do you think, I don't know if you would be in the position to do it. Maybe it's the state legislators that have the authority to do it. Do you think running every 2 years for governor is a fair thing? Where in like Massachusetts and other states, they're there for 4 years.
I think New Hampshire and one other state, I believe, there's only 2 or 3 states in the country that do every 2 years.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me. I think it's a short term. If you're trying to make good changes, big changes, it's tough to do in 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're probably right. It'd probably be a legislature issue that they'd have to change that. You could introduce it as governor. It has to go through the process.
Because I think that was one of the reasons Maggie Hassan wanted to run for U.S. Senate and make the jump now. She said it was getting a lot of very burdensome to run every 2 years as governor. So I don't know. I know the state reps and U.S. reps do it every 2 years. So I don't know.
Might be worth a look, right?
Yeah, maybe worth a look. Okay. What about now? What do you think of the toll highways? Do you foresee, if you became governor, either the tolls increasing or more tolls being added to the toll highways?
Well, if you give government money and a source to take money, you typically don't get rid of it, and the money usually they want more because they're spending too much. In my opinion, I would like to see the tolls stay as they are. No new tolls, no toll hikes. I would like to see all those tolls turn into those fast options like they have up in Hooksett there.
Oh.
They have a turnoff where you can speed right through them at the speed limit.
Oh.
It would be nice to see the easy pass lanes all try to convert to that. I think one problem with government, and no government is excluded, they take extra funds made by something like a toll that's meant to pertain to the roads. They take that extra money and they put it in the general fund. I think that all money coming from the toll should go into what they were meant for, highways, the roads, the state roads. So make sure that all those funds stay with the state roads, and any extra should be tossed back to either maybe go to upgrade those easy pass lanes or go back to the New Hampshire people.
Ah. If I was a governor or a state legislator or something like that, maybe I'd lose right off the bat. And I know you mentioned that you're a motorcyclist or like to ride motorcycles. One thing I would push for the good of the people, maybe I've heard arguments either way, that I would require all motorcyclists to wear helmets. I never ever understood to protect motorcyclists from themselves.
Mhm.
I mean, if you were to get a head injury or something on a motorcycle, it's what is it going to be? The taxpayers that are going to have to pay for it, or
All my insurance would have to pay for it.
your insurance?
But I've put thought into this subject before. When I was younger, I didn't wear a helmet. I think it's not really so much something for the government to decide, because you're not going to be doing any damage or any hurt to anybody else. You're riding a motorcycle. The only person that's really going to get hurt is the person driving. So I don't think it should be made into a law. The government shouldn't be telling people what they can and can't do that is going to physically only involve themselves. Being a motorcyclist, like I said, I didn't wear my helmet for the longest time, had kids, and my wife made it a law. So, and I believe that's how it should be. It's a family issue. It's a personal issue. You choose to. Maine went back and forth on it. They instituted the law, then they got rid of it because all the motorcyclists were very angry about it because it's their choice. It's not going to hurt anybody else. So I believe it shouldn't be made into a government issue.
I work with a gentleman. He on his summer vacations, he either goes to Sturgis or the where's it? In Laconia, New Hampshire, every summer.
Bike Week, Laconia, yeah.
Bike Week, Laconia, and he doesn't wear a helmet. And he was telling me that I have as much probability of getting a head injury riding my car as he would riding a motorcycle.
Statistically, he could be correct. I don't know. No one's going to make you wear a helmet in your car unless you go to Epping and you're under a certain time frame. But I meant Epping Motor Speedway, not the town.
Oh, okay.
But you're dealing with it's a personal case. If somebody wants to wear a helmet, they should have that right too. And if somebody does not want to wear a helmet, they'd have that right equally, I believe.
Okay, now moving right along, you mentioned on your website, and you mentioned earlier here today too, that you'd be in favor of pro-marijuana laws in New Hampshire. And I'm just looking at the presidential election. One thing that even Donald Trump mentioned several times, even after leaving New Hampshire, was about the heroin problem, heroin addiction that's in. I guess a lot of that is connected with the wall he plans to build between the United States and Mexico and stuff like that from coming in and stuff like that. But doesn't marijuana lead to worse things like heroin, cocaine, and stuff like that? I don't know how it's working out. You mentioned a lot you have friends in Colorado, and they said that there's not much difference there since the law passed.
Correct.
Than beforehand.
So to answer your first question, or what you first said, marijuana being a gateway drug, that was something that they were pushing on me in the DARE program back when I was in high school. Gateway drug. I know people in high school that have smoked marijuana, and then they may still do it, or they may not, but they didn't go on to use anything worse. It wasn't the highway to these other terrible drugs that we have going on in our state right now. I know people now that smoke marijuana. It's against the law, but it seems to be just about as easy to get as alcohol in this state, or cigarettes. We're to the point now, but now we've allowed medical marijuana. Okay, so now if you have a medical condition, now it's okay, but it wasn't okay before. It's not. Is it going to be a gateway drug for these people that are on it for medical reasons? They've decided no, it's not going to be dangerous. So we're talking about taxes a little bit ago, and you mentioned Colorado. Colorado is running a $12 million income off taxing marijuana. $12 million a month. You want to fix the heroin problem in this state, and everybody does. It's a bad epidemic. It's not something that just snuck up on us, though. If you read my website, you'll see my points on that. But to stay on topic, if you want to be giving help to these people that need help, that are hooked on heroin or other hard drugs, it takes money. And this state is basically level right now with income to what we're dishing out to what we're taking in. We're going to need more money if we want to give these people the help they need. $12 million a month would certainly help that. And we'd be able to get people off these harder drugs by just incorporating a tax and making it legal for people to do the marijuana or smoke the marijuana that they're smoking right now, just like we tax cigarettes, just like we tax alcohol. See why we couldn't just do that with marijuana, take that income.
Now, your friends in Colorado you're talking about,
yeah.
Are they just like yourself? Are they like in the law enforcement profession?
No, just normal people. They actually, it's my brother and sister-in-law. They lived out here in New Hampshire. They've moved around the country a little bit because he's in the military.
Oh.
And we're associated with the military, I should say. But they moved out to Colorado before it was law. Things got changed, and I asked them. I said, "Did anything change? You notice any difference?" No. They don't even see people doing it. Every now and then you do. They get a whiff of it or something, and they're like, "Oh," but it's not like it turned into not like everyone out there just decided, "Oh, I'm gonna smoke marijuana now because it's legal." Just like alcohol or smoking cigarettes. If people did it before, they're probably going to do it still, and vice versa. But it's turned into a big money maker for that state, and if you're looking to fix some problems, I think that money could go places around here.
Oh, okay. So,
otherwise, you're just looking at keeping it the way it is now, where those who want to do it are going to get their hands on it, one way or another. As well,
that's true.
Make it legal. Like prohibition for alcohol.
Good point.
Think of it that way. Everyone knows what happened there.
Now, is Colorado the only? Colorado's not the only state that has it legal.
No, it's the only one I've really looked into, though, because I think it was one of the first ones in the nation.
Oh, okay. And then, moving right along, you're in favor of marriage equality, which I guess is the civil unions. Well, I think New Hampshire Massachusetts, I think, was probably the first state that had the civil unions for, like, gay and lesbian couples. I think New Hampshire was very close behind. If it wasn't second, it was very close behind that. I don't know. The thing, I look at that as, I guess there was a situation, a lawsuit out in Oregon, that's the other side of the country. But you have situations where, like if a baker or caterer doesn't want to handle someone's wedding because of religious Christian reasons and stuff like that, there's like a zillion different bakers and caterers in the yellow pages that they can go to. But it just seems like these folks, I hate to say, put them in a category or something like that, but they retaliate and they make themselves worse off than before.
You mean like attack them lawfully? So that have them go after that company and make them change their views?
Yeah.
I think that laws need to be changed to prohibit things like that from happening. Anybody who owns a business should be able to make their own decisions on who they cater to. But that's their own personal preference. But when it comes to marriage and marriage equality, I completely agree that any two consulting adults that want to get married, say they're married, why shouldn't they have that right? We've learned enough in our history of our own nation between segregating people who aren't like us from being able to do things. It's not right. It wasn't right then. It's not right now. We shouldn't be saying somebody who's not like the rest of us can't have the same rights as us. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I really think it's as simple as that. And if you're talking about, the two two gay individuals attacking a business that doesn't want to serve them, those two people shouldn't have that right to sue a company that doesn't want to cater to them. I don't think that's right. But those are laws that would need to be changed behind the scenes. I don't really think it doesn't really associate to a majority. It's an even smaller minority of a minority, if you will. That would go to that step, and that should be eliminated. The court should just throw that case out. Say, listen, go use the bakery down the road. They'll serve you just fine.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, as far as having, like, if someone's in the hospital, like they got into a car accident, something like that, the significant other should have the right to visit them in the hospital.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Or an inheritance type thing. If they get killed in a car accident, they have as much right as any a regular heterosexual spouse to collect that insurance.
Correct.
So
calling it a civil union or a marriage, it's important to some people. They take that civil union term as basically a setback to their lives, and they want a marriage certificate just like anybody else. I think that's any person's right to get married to any person that they love.
Now, I guess I don't know if this is a state issue, individual states, or the national issue is transgender bathrooms.
That's in the news all over the place. It makes me wonder more about what they're trying to distract us from, because it doesn't seem like much of an issue to me. For TV purposes, put it the best way I can, if you have male parts, you should be in the male's bathroom. If you have female parts, you should be in the female bathroom. That's pretty much as far as I think we need to go on that.
It's just, the thing is, it's kind of weird to know what stage they're in, because I don't know if it's an all of a sudden type of surgery that these people go through. I think it's a process of like months, or I don't think it's years, but maybe weeks or months that they transform their...
Sure, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I really don't know. I mean, never something I've really looked into. But again, it goes back to the minority rights, and just because someone's not like us, I understand there's a lot of gray area there. That's why I think the government should just stay the heck out of it and leave things as they are right now. If you're a male, use the men's room. Female, use the female's room. How's someone going to know either way? Okay, so a guy could put a dress on, say that he's a female, and go into the female's room, but the only way to really know if he's a female or not is there's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
So,
and then they're using the argument of like 12-year-old girls or 12-year-old boys and stuff like that. They can get molested or something like that by normal-looking guys or normal-looking women.
Right. You can't tell. You can't tell in these states, in these issues. Government just needs to stay out of it and keep things the way they are right now. That's how I personally feel. It is important. It's an important issue, but it seems to be working the way it is right now. So why are we looking at changing something that's working for
I
well
hear you.
At the time? Yeah,
I hear you. So as governor of New Hampshire, what do you hope to initiate, change, or accomplish to bring more jobs and businesses to our state?
Well, if you look at the states next to us, Maine, Massachusetts, Vermont, the corporate tax rate, they're all pretty similar. Vermont and New Hampshire are the same at 8.5. Maine is staggered depending on how much your business makes. It goes from less to more. Massachusetts is 0.5% lower than New Hampshire. And I've seen a lot of individuals that are running for governor. They're saying that we need to invest in the education of New Hampshire to have qualified workers. I don't think so much that businesses are worried about finding help in this area. They're moving to Massachusetts on the state line, anywhere between Boston and the state line of New Hampshire, or from Concord down in New Hampshire. Seem to be pretty hot spots for these businesses to go. What's going to tip the scale? How much government tape they have to get through to start their business and incorporate into New Hampshire instead of Massachusetts? Or how much money is going out of their pocket for every dollar they make? How much do they have to give to the state? So if we want to be competitive, we need to start lowering our corporate tax rate to get underneath, at least, to the very least, get out, underneath the other states that are around us. At that point, we need to start bringing it down even lower. All taxes should be looking to go lower, even on you and I. But like I said, government starts to take money. They have a source for money. They start spending all that money. Then they need more money. We need to go the other direction. We didn't need that money. Let's give it back. Let's lower our tax rates next year, because obviously we have a surplus. We need to lower things. But corporate tax rate, if you want businesses to grow in New Hampshire, you need to lower their tax rate, so they're encouraged to come here. There are some rebates and incentives that they can register for, and I can only imagine the stack of paperwork you have to do to qualify for those. But let's just keep it simple. Get rid of those stacks of papers and just say, listen, you're 7.5. Come to New Hampshire. We're going to tax you less than Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts.
Sounds good to me. Okay. Now, I noticed, too, that you're against the Keystone Pipeline going through New Hampshire.
Correct.
So you don't view that as a potential tax-generating option?
No, I believe that's a temporary fix. If you're going to look at it tax-wise, you're looking at jobs and things being brought into the state. Now, luckily, that's been shot down. Kinder Morgan's decided that they're going to suspend that program for, they said, indefinitely. The groups that are fighting it should continue to look into that and fight it. But there's also the Northern Pass project that they're talking about, and I don't agree with that either. And the reason, it's not just because I don't think that people should be knocking over trees and whatnot. Trees are important, but we're talking about bringing energy through New Hampshire that's really ultimately aimed at somewhere else. The Keystone Pipeline wasn't going in to bring natural gas to New Hampshire. It was going right through our state. I think the actual goal was to get up into Canada, hook onto the main system, get up into Canada, and then they could sell that overseas at a reduced rate, less taxes, because Canada taxes exports less, from what I've read into it. Not to get too far off topic, going back to the Northern Pass project, now we're talking about bringing clean energy down from Quebec into New Hampshire and beyond. They wanted to really go below Massachusetts, Connecticut. We have all the energy we need. No one's complaining about brownouts and losing power for unexplained reasons in New Hampshire. We also have a big thing in the sky called the sun, and that can create more than enough power in New Hampshire just by companies you already see popping up, putting solar panels on people's roofs, lowering their electricity rates. These answers are right in front of us. We're not investing in that for some reason. And that, if you want to go back to jobs and creating businesses in New Hampshire could be a really hot spot for the next big solar company that wants to come in, create a business, start making solar panels. It's the technology is really turning in the solar direction, I think. And we have a solar cap on, I think they call it the solar cap. Basically, energy that is made from those panels on your roof that you're selling back into the system. SNH, or what are they called now? Eversource only has to pay back a certain amount of money, and they cap it. We want to make solar really take off, get rid of those caps, so that people can be encouraged to put these solar panels on their house, and they're not going to be basically penalized if they make too much at a certain point. Everyone can use that power. It can be put back into the system and create all this extra power, this clean energy that was going to be coming down from Quebec. It would be clean energy coming from the sun right here in New Hampshire. Hopefully made by New Hampshire companies and New Hampshire workers.
Okay. Well, we're flying in this interview, I'll tell you.
Going too fast?
No, that's all right. You're good. You're good. Let's see. On one of the biggest things you mentioned on your website is a section called "Kick Corruption to the Curb." If elected governor, can you list 2 or 3 specific examples of state corruption you're referring to? One
of them, the major ones, everyone's heard of it. It's lobbying, lobbyists. is basically people that are in the ears of our politicians that we elect and trying to point them in different directions, and there's most likely money exchanged or prizes or gifts and maybe a free trip to the Bahamas. Who knows what's going on behind closed doors? But those are that's one of the biggest things that needs to be taken out. There shouldn't be any people lobbying for certain things in our elected officials' ears. The only people that should be in their ears are the people that elected them. If I'm elected governor, which I'm hoping is the way that New Hampshire decides to vote, I'm going to be a regular guy, just like I am now, talking to my neighbors, talking to people I know, going out to events. The biggest thing I think I look forward to as being governor is being able to just go around New Hampshire and talk to people and hear what they have to say. Come up with our solutions and our ideas and our votes off of those ideas, because there's a lot of smart people in New Hampshire, smarter than you and I, just sitting here talking about politics. People that have really good ideas, and they need to be listened to. Shouldn't just be brushed off to the side. That's the biggest thing. Maybe eliminating these super PACs. I don't know if that's a big deal in New Hampshire with local elections, but I know at the presidential level, it's basically a super PAC is a group that's not associated directly with a candidate that can pump in as much money into getting that person elected as they want, and it doesn't go on my electoral, my financial report, because that has nothing to do with me. But they're trying to get someone elected, and it's allowed. It's legal. They can bypass the funding system that has, that's meant to keep things in line to get someone elected. You see all these election commercials are all over TV right now. There's probably a commercial on right after this for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, or Ted Cruz. That's probably not being paid for by them, and I think that's wrong. Maybe even going a step further and capping the amount that's being able to be spent on an election. I'm at a serious disadvantage. I'm just a regular guy. I work a regular job, 40 hours a week. There's a millionaire, another lifelong, well, not lifelong, but career politician, as I'd like to term him, and then a business owner that I'm up against. They have quite a bit of capital that they're going to be able to outspend me on. And are we all on an equal playing field? I think so. We're all people with good ideas. If we had a level spending field, everyone would be able to be heard, be taken.
I hate to mix apples with oranges, but what do you think of the whole delegate situation, where they say you can wine and dine the the delegates that were supposedly voted for in the election, but now I guess they are obligated to their candidate, like mostly Donald Trump on the first ballot. But if they don't get 1237 on the first ballot, then it goes to like a second ballot, and the delegates are not obligated to anybody.
It's a tough situation because they've basically, if you want to get into this conspiracy theories, that the election cycle is rigged in a way where the popular vote, they could win by a landslide. I think that happened to Bernie Sanders and Hillary a couple times in a few states where he won by astounding numbers.
Yeah.
And then he walks out with less delegates in that state than Hillary did. And it doesn't make any sense. It's not right.
That, I
it's
think,
not really so
definitely
much a state issue.
But getting off this another beaten path a little bit, do you think the Republican Party after November will be the same as we know it?
No. And I think it started to change actually even before Donald Trump. I think Ron Paul and then Rand Paul successively started to change things quite a bit. Ron stayed on the independent side. He dwindled into the Republican candidate election at the end of his career. But Rand started this year as a Republican candidate for president. I was pretty excited about that, and I'll go on the record as saying I would vote for Rand Paul. But he had great, simple ideas: less government, less taxes, more power to the states, which is really the way things should go in the national level. But then Donald Trump put his name in the hat, and everyone knows who Donald Trump is. And
yeah. The rest, as they say, is
Here we are.
history.
Yeah, the rest is history. Yeah.
Ah, incredible. Yeah, something's definitely going to change after November.
I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot more people paying attention to politics. Donald Trump has brought, if nothing less, he's brought in people that have never voted a day in their lives, maybe. There's people that are paying attention now. They want to know what's going on. They're listening to the issues. And hopefully that's a good thing. Because
I'm
the
not
more
quite
people that
sure
pay
what
attention,
happened to the quote-unquote Tea Party. If that kind of came and fizzled, like 8 years ago or so, but
it ran out of steam. Any fad runs out of steam, or else we'd still be listening to the Beatles all day. And
yeah. But now we get the Donald Trump faction of Republicans that are against the establishment of, like, the Jeb Bush. Who else would be? Lindsey Graham.
Yep.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. You're like I said, Ron Paul and Rand Paul started a big turn in that direction, and now Trump just really came in and dumped the bucket on it. Now everybody's out, and they see it's good because it's really a good thing. The more people that pay attention to politics, both national and local. Local is more important than national.
Yeah.
At least it's turning people back on and making them pay attention. That's good.
I just hope that the Republicans are at least competitive come November against Hillary Clinton or whoever the Democrat is.
I think they will be. Will be. And then, like I said, I don't want to sit here and say I'm all on the Republican side or all on the Democratic side. I think both sides have good ideas.
Yeah. And
problems, problems, but both have good ideas as well. I saw something online the other day. I'm sure it might get a chuckle out of you if you haven't seen it already. It's about Bernie Sanders and his supporters, and I'm not so much in disagreement with Bernie over what's wrong with the country. I'm just not so sure about his solutions, and that's where a lot of these politics get partisan politics. Everything gets divided. There's red versus blue. It's like two teams, Red Sox versus Yankees. You can't like both. You got to pick one, and the other team stinks. They're terrible. Right? So I'm a Red Sox fan. Yankees are terrible. Yeah. And they're the worst. They do everything wrong.
Yeah.
Everything about the Yankees is wrong, in my opinion. And my friend's a Yankees fan, and he hates the Red Sox, and he says everything the Red Sox do is wrong. There's good things that both teams have done along the way, obviously. That's why they've been on top of their divisions up and down for the past, as long as I can remember. It was Yankees or Red Sox.
Okay, so I just been informed by my producer that we have just less than 10 minutes left, and I know you have a lot more stuff on your website that we didn't cover. So is there anything that we haven't addressed in this past almost hour that you'd like to bring up? Or...
Well, we did get to talk about two of them. I did weasel in the energy and the sun, and the solar energy caps and things like that. I think that's important that we move New Hampshire in that direction. It'll solve most of our energy needs. Okay. I did mention the Second Amendment. I did mention that I'm in favor of the Second Amendment and taking a serious look at concealed carry. Education. There was one topic that came up, and I'm not sure if many people were paying attention to it, but there was a situation in Croydon, New Hampshire, where the town is really small town. They don't have their own high school. They were given the rights to tuition their kids out to other places. Tuitioning, for those who don't know, is basically saying you get X amount of money per student to go incorporate them into a local high school that is around your area. It's usually how it works. And the reason I know a little bit about this because I grew up in Mason. Mason, New Ipswich, Greenville had a regional school. And that's what happened over there, that now Mason tuitions their children to Milford High School. So Croydon took that tuition money, and there was a Montessori school in the town that popped up that was going to charge them less money per student than they were tuitioned for. So they were actually able to save the state and the town money. I think it's town. I think they tax it by town. They were able to save their town money by tuitioning their children to this school if the parents and the children wanted it. A handful of them wanted it, and they went there. The state is fighting them. The AG's office is fighting them, saying you can't use a private school for tuition money. You need to use a state school, a state-sanctioned high school. And to that I say, why? Why? Everyone seemed happy in that town. No one was complaining. Now you have the state telling the town they can't do what they want with their own kids, their own families, and their own money. You have to go where we tell you to go. Because the education, they're saying, is more basically structured, or it's state-controlled education. Where the Montessori school is a private school, they still have to pass state regulations. They have to come up with these tests, and there's still a bunch of guidelines that the Montessori school has to follow, I'm sure. But they fought that. They were wasting your and I tax dollars on something that no one was really complaining about. So the AG's office is fighting that. I believe they're at a point now where they've basically gotten an impasse. They're going through with what they were doing before based on a court decision. But things like that just don't make any sense to me.
Do you have any campaign fundraisers coming up?
No, not yet, unless you want to throw one for me. I haven't really come up with one. I don't have a finance manager. I've really been doing pretty much everything on my own. I have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com Jon Lavoie for Governor.
Of NH, yeah.
If you just search Jon Lavoie, Governor, New Hampshire, it'll pop right up. I have my own website that I basically made with a friend of mine. Thanks, James. He did a lot of help with me on that, and I've been putting my stuff on there as well. I think New Hampshire is really a great little hotbed for politicians like myself, who don't really have a stronghold or a popular name, but you can get your name out there. If people pay attention, and I think there's nothing much more than New Hampshire, live free or die, than saying we want to elect somebody who's just like us, and I think that's what would really do my campaign some good press.
Mason, New Hampshire. Isn't there a famous breakfast diner in Mason, New Hampshire?
There's a Maple Barn, yeah, my first job.
Really?
Yeah, washing dishes when I was the day I could learn how to drive. I think they wouldn't hire me until I was 16, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. I think everybody who lived in Mason, New Hampshire, it's a rite of passage. Yeah, rite of passage. You can't go on without working at Parker's.
As part of working there, did you get a free breakfast, or did you? They don't work like that.
I believe we did get to eat a little bit for free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ron Roberts owns that restaurant still. He's a good guy.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the hallmark breakfast diners of the area.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, growing up in Mason, like I said, I was a volunteer fire department I was on the volunteer fire department from the age of 16 all the way until I moved out of town. I bought my own house in Hollis at the age of 22. And I was asked to go on the Hollis department, and I was all set at that point. I was more involved with rebuilding a home that I just bought and didn't have the extra time to be toning out. But, I'm also, like we were talking about before, motorcyclist, snowmobile. I'm the president of the Brookline Icebreakers Snowmobile Club in Brookline, New Hampshire, and I'm also on the board of the Hollis Nor'easters Snowmobile Club in Hollis. So I believe that's an important thing, giving back to your communities in a way. And that the way I say it's important is because we're basically the stewards of the trails in those two areas. So all the trail work that you see done in Hollis or Brookline, not associated with Beaverbrook, all the multi-use trails are cared for by the Snowmobile Club. So I spend a lot of time out in the woods, beautifying trails and building bridges and whatnot. It's a community thing. Works year-round. New Hampshire, in a way, that really embodies what New Hampshire is all about.
Yeah.
Giving back to your communities, doing local work. That's where it all starts. The politicians in Concord aren't doing everything. politicians in general don't do a lot. Yes,
Do you feel, one more question, then I think we'll have to call it quits.
Yeah.
A lot of people have said before in the political circles, anytime Massachusetts sneezes, New Hampshire catches a cold. Do you think that we're like eventually going to become like another Massachusetts?
Well, it's
Well,
started.
Democratic, I mean, it's
It
predominantly.
started a little bit already. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not. I don't want to isolate anybody, say anything bad, but it has started. You see Democratic governors being voted in twice in a row now. Two different people, I mean. Before that, New Hampshire was very, very heavily in the red. They're Republican. But
Yeah.
it's definitely happening a little bit. The tax and spend ideology is kind of creeping in a little bit. I don't really like that idea. I'd rather
Yeah.
see less taxes, less spending. Let people keep their own money, do with it how they choose.
I hear you. So on that note, I think we'll call it a day. So if you want more information on Jon Lavoie for governor, go on his website, jonlavoie.org, or his Facebook page, which is also excellent for a lot of good information on the issues that he stands for. And I just want to say thank you for joining us this week, and I hope you join us the next time for Frankly Speaking. Thank you very much, and God bless, and hope to see you soon. Bye.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.